If I ask you how much more radiation does penetrate your body today compared to like 10 years ago, is it twice as much, 3 times as much? No, it's a quintillion times more. That's a 1 with 18 zeros.
In France, they had some of the first adopters of Wi-Fi. Now they're recognizing that the Wi-Fi is potentially harmful to school children, so they're getting rid of it in elementary schools.
Could where you carry your cell phone make you sick?
Radio frequency emissions from the school's strong wireless network has triggered headaches, nosebleeds, and nausea.
Smart meters are replacing the analog meters on your home.
Some say such meters are making them sick.
Nobody has taken into account the cumulative radiation that we are all getting, especially children.
Had there been pre-market testing, cell phones never would have made it into the marketplace.
The manufacturers actually tell people in the instruction manual, which I never read, not to put the cell phone against your ear.
Radio frequency radiation are in fact cancer-causing and are perhaps a cause of neurological diseases and cognitive problems and developmental problems in children.
The wireless industry spends $100 million a year lobbying the Congress. So it's really hard to go up against the power of this industry, even when you have the facts on your side.
We urgently need more research. We have almost no U.S.-funded research in this area.
Scientists decided it was time to counter the industry claims that there is no evidence.
Good evening. The World Health Organization today said cell phones are possibly carcinogenic.
It puts it in the company of several other kinds of things like lead, as well as engine exhaust and chloroform.
These are all things that immediately will reduce your exposure. Use a wired earpiece. Concentrate on speakerphone.
A wired computer classroom will not expose your child to radio frequency radiation.
I do have a certain sense of optimism that eventually the right thing will happen, like it did with tobacco, like it did with asbestos.
Welcome to Spiritually Raw, everybody. This is Jay and April. We're your hosts and co-founders of the Gnostic TV Network and the 5D Economy. You can check out our links below and connect with us on Instagram at Gnostic_TV.
Join us as we explore the mysteries of life and the universe and how to biohack your body. We're going to take control of your healing and increase it to a higher healing frequency using Biophotonic holistic technology. This is going to be exciting with our special guests, Catherine Edwards. You all know her. She's a holistic biologist. She's a life coach, an interviewer, an animal communicator, and of course, a lover of all four-legged friends. And Kim Kindersley, he's a filmmaker and a ceremonialist. We're excited to have you both on the show. Now, for all of you that are watching, we have a special promotion. You can receive 10% off all of the products that we're going to be discussing, and I'm telling you, you're going to want everything. These products are amazing. All of the links are in the description below, and that is only for a limited time only. So we're super excited. This is new technology. This is cutting edge technology. So Catherine, there's so much talk about EMF and what it's doing to us, but what exactly is EMF?
It's such a good question. And honestly, it's quite a controversial question because, like anything, when you get into the nitty-gritty of the science, you've got one load of scientists that want to withhold certain information from the general public, and you've got other scientists that really want to really do science in the true meaning of the word, in terms of trying to constantly asking new questions and looking for new solutions. But EMF is something called electromagnetic radiation. So it's looking at electric fields and magnetic fields that basically can be produced by natural things in the environment, things like solar flares, all sorts of infrared UV light. But what we're really talking about, the thing that's changed so dramatically over the last few decades, and particularly over the last 10 years, is what we call the man-made electromagnetic fields. And these come from everything, every basic electric device, whether it's a radio, a TV, one of our mobile phones, a tablet, Wi-Fi, earbuds, headphones, electric cars, microwave ovens, you name it, we are surrounded. And I have just got a little bit of a fact to start us all off today as to why Kim and I and you guys are so passionate about trying to spread some real news about what's going on, not the stuff that they're hiding from us, is because, do you know, I mean, this was unbelievable to me, is that over the last 10 years, the amount of EMF that's penetrating man-made electromagnetic fields, that's penetrating humans, animals, plants, this affects all of us, is a quintinium more than what it was 10 years ago. And quintinium is a 1 with 18 zeros.
Wow.
So people, you know,
That's
any of
insane.
the youngsters watching this today will laugh at us because they've grown up with these things being a normal part of their lives, but we're all old enough to remember when they weren't. And I don't think we can quite overestimate just how big a problem this is now. You know, our bodies are amazing, but we can adapt to so much. But when so much change happens all around us so quickly, therein lies the problem. And that's why I've been working with Kim and the team for Photonic, because we need to give solutions to people and people need them quickly.
Kim, how do you know when someone has like a effect of an EMF? So like, you know, there's a lot of people and they're calling it all these different things from the, this happened to me or that happened to me or whatever, right? Tell me a bit about, from what your research has shown, how is someone knowing if they're affected by EMF, and what are some baseline symptoms that seem to be chronic maybe, or that are affecting them that they may be confusing with something else?
That's a really, really good question. We can go back. And by the way, it's good to add here that as far back as 2012, Columbia University made an appeal to the United Nations about this problem. And there's a fantastic doctor in America called Dr. Deborah Davis, who's studied this very question that you've just asked. I'm a huge fan of hers, and we're working on a massive project we'll talk about later. But she's got all the data, all the science from all over the world collated through the Environmental Health Trust. So just to name a few, I think there's a particular range of symptoms, and for some human beings, they're particularly electrosensitive. I am one such human, which is why I had to get into this. You know, I used to stay in a lot of hotels and travel. And then when routers and the internet started building, that's when I started to notice that I couldn't get to sleep in hotels anymore. And you have a kind of a feeling in the body where you're on edge. It's like your adrenals are overworked. A cloudy mind, foggy brain, headaches, a kind of oversensitivity. The liver feels like it's being kind of overused. All of these are symptoms. And of course, people say, oh, it's just stress. It's the world we're living in at the moment. It's work. You know, maybe I've got to improve my diet. All of those things are true as well. But they're very, very clear, those symptoms.
That is so interesting. I never related those, you know, how you, like, some days you feel off, or, you know, everything you just said, you're like, check, check, check. That's how I've been feeling. But you wouldn't relate it to specifically, oh, it's the electromagnetic energy that's affecting my body. And I think this is such an important subject that we really need to help people understand more, so that they can detect what they're feeling and where, and then you know, understand where that's coming from, so they can do things to protect themselves from the radiation. Because we just don't really think like that, you know what I mean? You're not thinking, oh my gosh, it's because
it's
of
EMF.
It's EMF.
Yeah.
Like, I'm stressed, I'm tired, I'm overworked.
You know, like, sorry, I was just going to say, all of us here, we're so passionate about feeling well, and we're all about the positive, right? We don't spend endless hours talking about all the dark forces and all this stuff. We're solutions orientated. Right. But I mean, what's really fascinating is the FCC were asked to look into all of these things regarding, you know, cell phone use, particularly with kids and so on, and in schools. And there's been a very, very significant legal thing that's happened through Deborah Davis. And I actually just made a couple of notes. They never really looked at long-term exposure, what's happening to children's health, the effect on pregnant women, what's happening to an embryo. I mean, it goes on and on this list. So it's a landmark ruling from the federal court in America, 21, to actually put the FCC on notice that they've actually got to look at this stuff seriously. Because again, I don't want to frighten anyone, but your kids are going to school with their phone, with their tablet, wearing their super smartwatch, which is so sexy and fun. And then, I think I'll get the iPad out. And then when you get to school, all the teaching's being done on computers, routers, and possibly even a 5G tower outside in the playground. And we have to take this seriously. First step, education. But these things are not imaginary, and we really have to do something about it.
Do you think the energy or what's coming out of the towers? Do you think it's just what's happening to us, if you would, from the airwaves? Is a result of just not really understanding the technology before they installed it, or do you think it actually was a conscious decision by the powers that be that said, well, let's put this here so this will turn this kind of effect on people?
Oh God, it seems to me like we're in a really pivotal moment for our species evolution. And as we're all fascinated here with deep spirituality, the real deep connection to the divine, us as in a way, our human body as the ultimate technology, what are these things doing everywhere? Why are they on top of every, I call them sacred mountain, sacred hill, dressed up as trees, everywhere, and having such a deep effect on consciousness. I would subscribe to the fact that I don't think everybody knows, but I think that there is an elite at the top that has an agenda with this stuff, and I think we have to be open to that, at least that possibility.
I got you.
Well, let's just put it in a little bit, but a little bit of perspective. Now, I'm not an expert on the whole background of 5G, but I did spend 10 years working in the environmental department for Nokia, who actually were an amazing company, I must say. But the thing is, my understanding is the 5G technology is a military technology. So this isn't an accident. They do know, and by they, I'm not pretending everyone knows. I think this is half the problem, is that, the human species, let's face it, when we look at all the countries that we're from, we're the only species in the whole world that promotes the most incompetent to supposedly lead us. Right. Whether that's really anything to do with our vote or not, but I'm not joking. So the fact of the matter is, now we all know that most science is paid for, and whoever pays the bill will actually give you the results. But in terms of whether it's an agenda or not, the fact of the matter is there's enough evidence out there of very basic science to show just how damaging. And let's not forget, we're not just talking about the human species there. We know it's having a dramatic effect on insect life, on plant life, on animal life. I deal with people who've got smart meters in their home, and it's having a devastating effect on their animals' health, for example. So this is one of the worst kept secrets. It wasn't long ago, and Deborah Devlin sort of covers this, and Kim will give you all the links for that. But it wasn't long ago that people were still allowed to smoke on planes and in cars and in pubs and things, and people forget this very quickly. And I think the good thing about all of our audiences is we're not speaking to the people that believe the government have got our best interest in heart. We know that we have to empower ourselves, and that's the beauty of really delving deep and getting some of this real research, because Kim mentioned quite a lot of the very common symptoms, but there's a huge amount of evidence linking the exposure to cancers. The safety standards were carried out 25 years ago, and very much like, because we're uncensored here, aren't we? We can use proper words. I love this platform. That's why we're all on it, because we're uncensored. Just like the vaccines, not only are the vaccines not tested against placebo, but none of them are tested in combination with each other. Most of the pharmaceutical drugs aren't tested in combination. And what we've got with electromagnetic radiation the clue's in the name. Our bodies can survive a lot of natural radiation, which is particularly in some geological areas quite high. But when we're bombarded by this, plus possibly having graphene oxide put into our cells, plus heavy metals that are coming down from the sky from the geoengineering, these metals, these things like the graphene, act as antennas. They're in us all now, however careful we are. And there's so much science to show that the 5G technology is firing off and sort of activating these toxins within our body. And a lot of the research on things like autism have shown that it's the combination of the toxins plus the activation that really fires that lethal bullet to cause the damage.
Catherine,
Yeah.
what are symptoms that animals would endure from EMF?
Very similar to humans. And the problem is, I love the way Kim touched on this earlier, is a lot of the symptoms we could put down to different causes. But just to put it in perspective before I answer that, April, if I may, stress affects all of our bodies, whether we're a plant, an animal, or a human. And stress can come from lots of different causes. It can come from chemical stress, and it can come from electromagnetic stress. It can come from the emotional stress, psychological stress, like living with a narcissist. So the effect of stress on our bodies is very similar from all the different causes. But when you then get the effect of stress on your body from something like the EMF, you can't escape it. If it's in your environment, both my children live in cities, in flats in cities. So thank goodness for the protection that we're going to show the listeners in a minute. But animals will have autoimmune conditions. So will humans. They might have skin issues. They might have joint issues. They'll have behavioral issues. They might be more reactive. They might be more sensitive to being left on their own, because everyone who lives with an animal in their life knows that they are normally far more sensitive to picking these things up than us humans. In the tsunamis, the animals know they're coming and they leave unless they're prevented physically from leaving by being chained up or caged. But you imagine being an animal and you're living in this environment, it's affecting you and it's affecting your humans, and you can't get the message across. So it can cause everything from behavioral, skin issues, joint issues, gum issues, digestive issues, all the normal, and then on to more serious things like tumors as well.
What is the Kim, like, so for example, like the effect of it on my phone right here, what exactly is happening? So what's happening? So the radiation comes out. Is this deflecting it somehow? What's the feeling behind that?
It's such a good question. By the way, just what you've just said is true. And I was holding back earlier, but there is now I know that I don't have to. No. There is absolute evidence on the brain tumors, on leukemias, on the child cancers, and I could go on and on. So yes.
And sperm mobility.
So many different things. And it's like, and the thing is that the graph, it started to go like this. And then as EMFs increase, I mean, it literally is going like that. So we're in that moment. But back to this, a lot of people will say, okay, well, you need to get a meter to test. And the joy of this technology and how it works and why it's so bloody amazing is it's like noise cancelling headphones. Set in here are a whole bunch of frequencies that match 3G, 4G, 5G, even 6G in this case. And so what's happening is it's not affecting the signal reaching your telephone. In other words, your telephone is functioning normally. But what it's doing is it's creating a field around you where the biological effect that frequency was having has been, if you like, harmonized. And actually, the evidence is increasingly showing that it's even becoming beneficial in the body. Now, I could say that, but in a way that doesn't mean anything. What's important is it's been tested by the Bion Institute, whose job is to actually show the efficacy of these things. And it's vital that your audience go on the website and look at real independent science on this to show, number one, how it works, why it works, and the fact that it's been given a certification as being protective against the harmful biological effects of 5G, which is fantastic. And that's ongoing. I mean, the research is ongoing. There's also live blood analysis. And I think it's a very important thing because it's a visual thing. If you take a phone without any protection, you take a prick of blood, you can see that the blood is all agglutinated and sort of clumped together. And in a way, it's rather like the blood cells going, oh my God, we're under attack. Let's go like this. So danger of strokes. It's, the energy in the body's not flowing correctly. And then if you do the same thing, but with this, in other words, take a drop of blood, put it under the live blood microscope, you will see literally those cells separating, relaxing, and then going back to their natural form, not agglutinating. So in other words, it's constantly rectifying the biology in the body. And this can be seen in, I believe, all the live blood analysis done by the naturopath, Caroline. By the way, I think she's done routers, smart meters, the earbuds, the iPads, the iPhones, I think if I'm forgetting computer, and the smartwatch. Wow. And again, it's because it's visual, it really helps people go, wow, that's what it's like without. That's so it's really an effective tool for people to have a look and really understand, number one, that there is an effect in the biology in the blood, and number two, with the tech put in the back of the phone, you really genuinely are being harmonized and protected.
I think we have a clip, and Catherine, I would love for people to see it. I would like to ask you first, though, what is biophotonic technology and how is it different than, the traditional EMF protection?
Would you want to answer that or do you want me to go?
Well, we'll both go. So you go first.
Okay, well, I think biophotonic is a beautiful name. It by the way, this technology's been around a long time in different forms. We can go all the way back to Raymond Rife, who was curing cancers, I think in the 20s, and using frequencies. All of these different things have a different frequency. I mean, biology, for example, bacteria have different frequencies, viruses, and so on and so on. What's really, really important about biophotonic is it's taken all of that technology, all of the bioresonance technology, and brought it into a form that is completely cutting edge. And even though today, obviously, we're focusing on this for the telephones and the larger cards, for example, that I'd carry the card with me in my wallet wherever I go, in the car, on airplanes. I put it on my computer. So that's a kind of a portable version that keeps you in this protective bubble. And they also have the photonic wave, which is just the technology, as it were, on steroids, protecting 50 square meters, I believe. So biophotonic comes from a long history of bioresonance technology put into a form that is now cutting edge, modern, specifically to deal with these threats that we're being presented with over the last 10 years and increasingly so.
Love it. And just to add a little bit to that is, I think most of your listeners, I love your listeners because they're so well informed about energy in general, April and Jay, but I think most people have heard of the Schumann resonance, and what we're always trying to do, whether it's nature or ourselves, is get back to homeostasis, get back to balance. So the technology within both the cards that Kim showed you and the great photonic wave that does the whole house and passes through walls. So it, the beauty is I'm sitting in my home office with mine on here, and not only is it benefiting me, but it's benefiting all the wildlife in the garden, all my animals. Really, all the plants and everything. I mean, look at my plants thriving in the background. But what it's doing, April, is it's bringing your harmony back into balance. So the EMF technology is pushing us out of balance. It's pushing us out of resonance, which is affecting our blood, which we'll show you the video in a minute. These are basically giving a better, stronger signal back so your device still works, because as Kim said, if you get the machines that measure, the only way they're going to stop measuring, your phone wouldn't work. You know, we can put our phones in a Faraday cage and you won't be able to use them. So we're looking at saying, how can we balance out the negativity so that you can still use technology? Because most people, you know, if you're in a shopping center, an airport, a train, let alone an electric car, you can't avoid it. So how can we make sure that the stronger bioresonance is bringing the good frequencies back and returning us to balance? And before I forget to mention, it will also structure water. And when you look on the website from J&A Paul's link, there's a brilliant research tab where you can see the evidence of how it affects heart rate variability. How much we've been talking about the effect of what's been happening on our heart with all the interventions and the vaccines and the graphene and God knows what else, but also with the stress and bringing that heart brain back into coherence and getting that heart rate variability stabilized is key. So the beauty is look, there's a lot of things for us all to worry about at the moment. Just by carrying one of the cards that Kim showed you in your pocket, in your wallet, in your purse. I've got little people, I have a little pouch that I have strapped onto mine. Having it on your phone, and so important. Anyone with children, go and look at their blood results on the research tab for the AirPods, for the smartwatches. It's so ironic, Jay and April, that people will wear these smartwatches to try and help them get healthy when they're causing so much damage. So let me share my screen and show you the video from Caroline, because it's wonderful. Can you see that okay, everyone?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just play it. It's only 4 minutes.
It's really impactful.
Video, we will look at what live blood analysis is and the impact the photonic square had on this analysis. Live blood analysis is a screening test that allows for the observation of the various components of a blood sample and can help to determine the functionality of the blood system. Human blood is composed of 45% cellular components, namely red and white blood cells and platelets, and 55% plasma. Blood has many functions, including transporting oxygen, regulating body temperature, and supporting the immune system. The condition of our blood directly correlates to the state of our health and can be a reflection of diet, lifestyle, and environmental factors. During the live blood analysis test, a pinprick needle is used to extract a drop of blood from the tip of the test subject's finger. The sample is placed directly onto a glass slide and examined immediately under a microscope of up to 1,000 times magnification. The sample is illuminated in a way that makes even the tiniest details visible. Analyzing the blood in this way allows for the various components and function of the blood to be observed as they exist in the body. The photonic square helps to protect against the negative effects of certain electromagnetic radiation by attaching it directly to devices such as mobile phones and tablets which emit such radiation. So we tested the square against the use of a mobile phone and tablet using live blood analysis. Firstly, to see if the radiation emitted from such devices did indeed affect the blood, and then to see if attaching the photonic square to the devices had any impact on the results. In this study, an initial sample was taken from the test subject. The subject's food and fluid intake had been monitored, and no mobile phone had been used prior to testing. Their sample showed a healthy blood picture with red blood cells free-flowing, healthy cell membranes, and clean plasma. 30 minutes later, a 20-minute mobile phone call was made by the test subject, with the phone placed directly to the ear. 10 minutes later, a second blood sample was taken.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing.
The second sample showed a compromised blood picture, with red blood cells clumping together, cell membranes puckering, and blood flow inhibited. 30 minutes later, the test subject made a second 20-minute mobile phone call with the phone placed directly to the ear. However, this time the photonic square had been applied to the device. 10 minutes later, a third blood sample was taken. The third sample showed an improved blood picture with healthy round red blood cells, improved cell membranes, and restored blood flow. The images suggest that the application of the photonic square has negated the negative effects of mobile phone usage on the subject's blood sample. This data set can be viewed in full on the research page of the biophotonic.uk website.
That is incredible.
That's impressive.
That is incredible. You know, I wanted to. I
Sorry.
wanted. No, I was going to ask you, like, so when does it matter? And I noticed, Catherine, when you were holding up your phone, so you know, a lot of people have cases on their phones. Does it matter with or without the case? Should you, whether you have it on or not, or can you just?
Yeah, what you normally want to do is put it on your phone, and then most people put their case on over the top.
That's what I did.
So that's the easiest way because it prevents it getting knocked off and everything as well. So normally I have my case on so you can't see it, but it's on there. And, you know, you can put them on tablets and carry them around with you. And the cards, which were a slightly bigger version that Kim was saying he carries around in his wallet, I've given mine to my children. Yeah, lovely. They're amazing because I've got clients who put them under the water fountain for the pets. You can put your water, your food on it, and it will structure it. And that's probably more detail for another show. But go and look at the research because, as Kim said, these are all independently tested by the Bion Institute, and you can read up all about their independent accreditations, and also by an independent naturopath, Caroline Mansfield, who's done so many of these blood test analysis and just blown away. And just putting that into perspective, this was the disastrous effects on those bloods were after a 20-minute call in a controlled environment, not walking around a shopping centre with being bombarded by EMF, not someone on an aeroplane or in an electric car. So when you're constantly exposed, when you're carrying one of those cards or the shield around, you're protecting yourself when you're out in public. And, you know, Kim and I are on a mission with you guys to get these photonic waves in every gym, in every apartment block, hotel. I mean, I've given one to my daughter who's in a flat. So she's not only is she protecting all her flatmates in the flat, but she's also protecting everyone in the flats above and below her as well. So, you know, share the love, I say.
There's a lot of these shared offices. These shared offices there.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And
yeah.
And for schools, you know, we've got this. This is a big.
They should be in every school.
Every school, and someone said, well, they're quite expensive, but let's think about this. I've just started this thing in Marlow with this amazing friend of mine who comes to all my breathwork classes over the years, and she just goes, Eureka, I know, I get 10 other parents, and we gang together, or 30 parents. And that's how we do this. It's not like every single person's got to get one. And, you know, this is kind of at the beginning of a journey with an amazing global charity, or in America, as you call, nonprofit 501c3 called the White Feather Foundation, it's actually founded by a good friend of mine, Julian Lennon, who's John Lennon's son. And we're in serious talks about working with them to get this kind of environmental message of education all across America, then the whole world. I'm getting goosebumps as we're speaking, to make sure that, first of all, people, the goosebumps are going big time, that people know about it, and then they know that they can do something about it. And then we have this, okay, we've got to have every kid on the planet with one of these, you know, and then we start really dreaming big. Why not? Why not? We've got to.
It's interesting because we spend, Catherine, as a holistic biologist, I mean, I know you're well researched in this, which is why we wanted to do this show, everybody. Our good friend Catherine, who we know just is going in before she even says anything. And so you know, we know we can take this as credible. but yeah, we spend so much time with like our health and wellness and different supplements and nutritionals, but even myself, I mean, you do lose sight of other things, the unforeseen things, you know what I mean? You do lose sight of it. I think
I think why it is so, the biggest hidden lie is because you don't see it.
You don't see it.
You don't see this energy. And so you don't think about it. You blame how you feel and everything else, and you're not realizing where it really is coming from, which is the electromagnetic energy.
Yeah.
How long, what's the lifespan of these cards? Do they last forever, or how does it work
Yeah.
exactly? Mhm.
That, well, I mean, forever is a long time. If we're in the eternal now,
5 years.
we might not be able to gauge that, but the theory,
I mean,
yeah,
do they
it's
ever lose the impact, the energy of what it's doing?
the
No,
frequency embodied in there, and
Yeah.
I think they're given a lifetime guarantee.
Wow.
They don't wear out, but obviously if you drove over it, or I did one on a dog walk. So now, as a woman, because we don't have the same pockets as you men, so I've got mine in a little pouch I carry on. But if you don't physically damage it, then we haven't had any that have worn out now. So this is the beauty, is it's such a good investment. You move it from phone to phone, device to device, carry it around with you. And this is the beauty of it. It's not something that you're replacing every year or two, that's for sure.
I know,
Yeah,
I
and
know,
if you,
like for me, because like we're obviously doing this, and I can say I'm super sensitive too. Like I could feel like the lights and things. It's like my brain feels like it's frying, right? And you know what I mean. So I have to walk away from it, and I get it, and I'm sure other people feel that way, not necessarily aware of what it actually is. So it looks like everybody there's solutions, and really easy solutions. And you tuck it under a nice cover here for yourself, and protect yourself. I mean,
And put it in your wallet.
wow.
I mean, how simplistic.
Homeopathic stress, guys. So, I mean, if you look at the amount of problems many children are having in schools now, the level of ADHD, behavioural diagnosis scale, they've got fluorescent lighting. There's
That's the
geopathic.
worst.
Yeah, that's
That
the
is
worst.
the worst.
They've got the what are they called? The halogen bowls, which I didn't know. My lovely builder friend put them in everywhere for me. I'm in the process of saving up to have them all taken out because we're sold all these energy efficiency devices, and we don't realize at the time. And I think no one should beat themselves up, because there's a limit to how much you can sort of get into the mind of a psychopath. But when you do start asking these questions and realizing that the research is out there, albeit very hidden, this is where Kim is so talented at finding all this research and pulling together these experts that can actually get the message out, because there's scientists, like there are with the vaccines, like there are with the heavy metals and the mold. They're trying to get the message out, but their voices are being so hidden that most members of the general public genuinely still believe that if it was that dangerous, it wouldn't be allowed. But I think most of our audiences realise we can't rely on that. I mean, the lady who's just come to ride my horse that left literally before we started recording, she's got grandchildren, and she's very well aware because she's a governor of the school. And she was like, well, my grandchildren don't have phones. I'm like, yeah, but all their schools are full of Wi-Fi. And she was going, oh my goodness, they are. They're literally Wi-Fi everywhere.
Which is such a great point. I mean, let's face it, you're not going to escape it. I mean, unless you live in the middle of nowhere, maybe, but the majority of us don't. So you're not going to escape it. So what we need to do is educate and protect. This is the easiest, fastest, most practical way to combat the electromagnetic energy. And not for anything, Catherine, from a design element, these are beautiful. And I mean, who wouldn't want to have this in their house? I mean, it's beautiful. It's the design of these products and the packaging is really, I mean, you can see that they put the attention to detail, not only obviously in the product, but into the design.
The aesthetics of it looks very nice. I mean, it looks like you feel good. Everybody gets stuff, but you feel good when you're getting this. I mean, I'm looking at this and I'm like, this is pretty cool on my phone. I mean, I already started asking people like, what's on your phone? You know what I mean? And it's like, this is what it does. It's like, it's almost like a, it's wow. I mean, I don't like, for me, like with what's going on in the world today, people remove the cost out of your mind. Think about the value. I mean, you think, you think healthcare is expensive, try sick care. I mean, this is something that's critical. I mean, this has helped deflect a lot of things, and we just need to look. There's so many people aren't figuring out what's wrong with them.
I mean, in the
So
grand scheme of things, it's not expensive.
Yeah.
What is
You-
expensive is illness.
Yeah. And you were saying earlier that you were sensitive. A really cool thing to do if you get the 2-pack is you can have one in your hand like this. So in your right hand, and you can put the other one under your left foot, and you will feel the energy coursing through your body. I'm totally into all sorts of systems to do with clearing meridians and the energy channels of the body. I'm a breathwork teacher. And so, like, to be able to check how your meridians are doing for me is really important. And a lot of people forget that these things are actually very, very powerful in that regard too. You can put your supplements on a card, they charge them up. Your food. Yeah, there's some really, really amazing other benefits to this stuff. And I wanted to also throw in, because of the animal thing, that I've just heard from Deborah Davis, that they have absolute proof now of the effect of the EMFs on the embryos of different animals, and of course the effect on the insects. Huge, huge stuff, this, because it's undeniable. And on that fact, there's a fantastic group of scientists in Germany. I actually met them through another filmmaker who lives near Julian in the south of France. The biggest class action lawsuits are coming up for this. And all the big phone companies and Vodafones and all of those people, they have got massive amounts of money set aside to deal with the cases that you remember. Asbestos was the first big one. Then I think it was smoking. Then glyphosate hit. Well, watch this space. This is not a fantasy. This is coming up, and it's coming up fast. And, it's all of these things are coming to the surface. We're in that time. If you're into astrology, Pluto, Capricorn, we're deep in it. It's happening right here, right now. And, all of these things are going to be revealed. But in the meantime, we can educate ourselves. And by the way, when I do a breathwork class, every yogashala I go to, I plug this guy in, and I can feel the difference pretty much immediately with a group of, let's say, 30 or 40 people breathing deep and diving deep and meditating. And you can feel the energy changing in the shala almost immediately, because, of course, everybody's coming with a mobile phone. And actually, it's become part of the whole way that I teach, because it's like everything's connected.
That is pretty cool.
Absolutely. What is the square footage? Do you know that this covers?
50 meters squared, 360 degrees, and it travels through walls and everything. Even, I'm in a really old house with really thick walls, and it travels through that fine. So, this will cover a big area. That's a big area, 50 square feet.
Yeah.
Meter.
Meters.
Yeah, 50 square meters.
That's really big. That's a big area. That's a big area. That really is a big area. Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. Well, I know that we're going to be talking about. We want to go on we're really privileged that you have invited us to go on this journey with you to help educate people on this. And I know we're going to break this apart, because this is a new way of thinking. So today we've learned about the cards, if you would, that you can put on your phone, and then you can travel with you. And we're going to go down the journey and talk about what else is possible, and more in depth about this, more of that. You know what I mean? There's things. Yeah, we didn't get to that, and we're going to be getting all these things too. But there's going to be a website in the description below. Click on the link. These people have been kind enough to offer you a discount. Also, there'll be a code in there. So just click on the link below. Do your research, check it out. Like anything in life,
This really is mandatory.
Yeah, I think so. I really do.
I mean, we're at a stage in life where, this is not something that, well, maybe, maybe it's something that no, you need it. We all need it. We're not going to escape it. That is a fact. So at the very least, what we need to do is learn ways to protect ourselves and I don't know of an easier, better, or more effective device to do that than the Biophotonic.
It looks fancy too.
And they look great.
It looks like a blue MX.
Yeah,
Unlimited
gosh,
spending,
if
everybody.
only you could, yeah, if only you could go out for a nice dinner with it. You know, it's
Unlimited
like-
spending, unlimited. Hey, listen, maybe it manifests everything for that. Catherine, Catherine, any final words before you love and leave us on this? Before I know we're going to plan some more topics together on the other products, but just to help start the education process for people.
My passion really is, let your children watch this. Our children are a lot more aware than we realise. And, if they've got a birthday coming up, if you're a grandparent and you've got a birthday, we've got plenty of really good links that we can send you with short videos, long documentaries, really show you how much an issue this is. But I would say get your children involved, because we're not saying that they can't use their devices. We're long past that stage now. This is the world we're living in. We're saying use it safely, because if you've got a child that you know in your life that's struggling with concentration, struggling with an emotional issue, struggling with depression, struggling with skin issues, all sorts of things, then you've got nothing to lose by try this out. And I agree, the designs are brilliant, because I've been looking for this for years. So many things on the market are not properly tested. And you've got to have the evidence to show, and the blood doesn't lie. So I would say get your children involved in the conversation. Let them see that you're not going to stop them using it, but you're going to protect them whilst you can. And it's a win-win situation, because you don't want to be the person that's waiting until the damage has been done before then you wish you'd been told about it sooner.
Yeah, I get it. Kim, before you love and leave us, any final words, my friend?
Totally concur, and I would even add to that it's this in the end, it's all about community. And so, for example, what I feel really passionate about is, again, the Deborah Davis links. There are so many cool videos on there, short ones, longer ones, more in-depth ones, and all sorts of fantastic tips and advice, but also a growing community. And then that can happen at a school. And it's like, okay, right, we can do something about this. Let's band together. Let's get creative. And then the conversation leads to something else, For me, with love, it's about taking this planet back. It's about taking our sovereignty back. It's about connecting to the divine source that is within every human being. And this is one of the ways we clear the field for that actuality to happen. So let's just make it happen one step at a time, one community at a time. And it's really great to meet you guys. I love your energy. I love that Catherine invited me and you invited me. And I just get so damn excited that we've got this. We've got this.
Absolutely. And for those that, that may not be feeling well and they can't pinpoint where it is, what is coming from. You've been to the doctor, they can't diagnose it. Maybe, just maybe, it is the electromagnetic energy that is affecting you. Probably more often than not, it is. It is like a silent killer because you can't see it. So don't discount that. We have to protect ourselves. We have to educate ourselves. And again, this is the best way to do it. Catherine and Kim, thank you so much. This has been an enlightening interview, and I know we're going to help so many people with these amazing products. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be bringing these two back on, and so they can continue keeping us nice and safe, and responsible as we use this crazy technology that we are blessed or cursed with. Who knows? Depends on the day, right? So, all right, love to you both. Thank you very much.
Much love.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.